Welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Chief David Molloy, Director of Public Safety for the City of Novi. And it's a pleasure to be joined here today by Sgt Pat Hatfield of the Oakland County Sheriffs Office. Sgt Hatfield, welcome to Behind the Badge.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, your education, and some of the assignments you've held, because you're obviously a decorated veteran of the Sheriff's Office. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've been there since June of 1989. I'm working on my 25th year. At the present time, I'm the overseer administrator of the Sheriff's Marine Division, our aviation unit, our reserves, and our Explorer program, along with the other patrol duties that go along with that. My career obviously starts out in the jail. I spent some time in the jail. From there, went out to the through the police academy to the road patrol, was assigned to Highland Township. Was the patrol sergeant out there for approximately 10 years or so, and then transferred into the current position with the canine at this current time.
Now, where do you work out of with your canine? Do you have a specific area, or do you just respond wherever you're called out to?
I work out of our main office down at the main complex. Just when I'm called out, it could be anywhere, Pontiac, Birmingham, Novi, any of the surrounding communities, and I do go out to assist them.
And your dog, what's your dog's name?
Geo.
And what does he have any specialties that he's able to do? Narcotics tracking or protection? Or?
He's considered a multi-utility dog. He does the tracking, the narcotics, the handler protection, building searches, a multi-purpose dog.
Excellent. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is the whole marine safety. With summer upon us, we have a great partnership with the Sheriff's Office that we entered into this year. Always have enjoyed a great relationship with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. But in particular, we've added an additional feature this year by contracting with the sheriff to actually provide some patrols to Walled Lake, where a lot of people don't realize, they think Walled Lake, but about 80% of it's actually inside of the city of Novi. So can you talk a little bit about some of the deputies that the residents will be seeing out there on the weekends?
Every weekend throughout the year, as you mentioned, the contract, we will be out there on patrolling. It's usually a Friday, Saturday, a Sunday. We rotate the days and the hours. The residents at this point seem to enjoy us being out there. We have a few stats I can go over if
Sure.
you like. So far, since the beginning of boating season, we've had over 200 contacts. And what I mean by a contact is it's not a bad contact. The officer could be driving by and just go up and say, "Hey, how you doing? Is everything okay out here?" So we've had a couple hundred of those since the beginning of the boating season. And there's been only 17 tickets throughout the year. And the officers that are out there are seasoned officers. They're well versed in marine law. So when they do issue a citation, it's usually for some major safety rule violation to where we're trying to keep the public safe. Our officers out there, I tell them it's 3 months out of the year that people are able to enjoy the lakes and their boats. So let them enjoy, but we want them to be safe.
And when we talk about the lakes, I don't think people really understand the number of lakes that you guys have responsibility for.
Yeah, in Oakland County alone, there's over 400 lakes at any given time we would have to respond to. Current, we're contracted with 13 to where we leave the boat on there throughout the summer, but all those others are unmanned.
Okay.
Most of the time.
And then you also, unfortunately, have the responsibility that if there's a boating accident or if there is a drowning, you also have that responsibility with the dive team as well?
Yes, the dive team, myself and another sergeant head up the dive team. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago we had that sad incident, but yes, our divers are on call. The call goes out and they respond as well.
Okay. What are some of the things that the boaters, community members, residents should be aware of, particularly during this boating season? Some of the safety tips that we can remind them of to make sure that they don't have to have that contact or they receive a violation.
You want to obviously, we'll start right off with the alcohol. Alcohol is big on the water. You are allowed to have the open alcohol on the boat. The operator cannot be intoxicated. But your safety features, your boater safety certificates for the younger ones, your current registrations on board, your life jackets, and most importantly, a fire extinguisher, just a small one. But your life jackets, life jackets are very, very important because if you do fall over and you are knocked unconscious, at least it will keep you above the water.
And I think we've seen some of the, I know we've experienced some tragedies in Novi on Walled Lake where the occupants weren't wearing their flotation devices and did not have their life preservers on, and unfortunately that resulted in a death. So I think people really need to understand, and they have to have one for every person on board, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about in terms of the alcohol? I know it's a little bit different on the water. They have a different threshold, but I think we're looking at bringing that back down to where it is for drunk driving on the road as well?
Yes, it's in legislation right now. They're working on that. It's 1.0 at the current time, which used to be the old on the street. But again, if you're operating, it inhibits your abilities to do a whole lot of things. The heat, the factors that play in. If you get out on the rough waters, the waves and stuff may, if someone's swimming or falls off a boat, you may not see that individual floating in the water.
Right. I know one of the common calls that we get for service up in the north end where the lake is at is the speeds of boats sometimes. Are there any laws that boaters should be aware of when they're out on the water in terms of their speeds, or any distance they're required to stay away from another vessel?
They've got each individual lake and township set the speed limits. So each lake is different.
Okay.
As far as swimming, your boaters are to stay away 100 feet from a swimming area. They can proceed by a swimming area if they need to, but it has to be at a no-wake speed, so they're going very slow. If there's a raft, they want to stay 100 feet from that raft as well. Boaters, they want to stay 100 feet from, if a skiing. And we do see it a lot where someone's pulling a skier or a tuber and they get right in what we call the wake of that person, which is very dangerous because if that person does fall off, you're going to be on top of them, and unfortunate things will happen at that point.
Right. And when we talk about the Marine Division, and I know you all have been done a great job, but unfortunately with the economic times you've had to downsize. What type of personnel and staffing do you guys have now in terms of who goes out and patrols the waters on the weekends and during the week?
During the week, unfortunately, other than the holidays, with the upcoming holiday, they will be out there during the week. But we hire part-time Marine officers for the summer. They have full-time jobs, and they dedicate their weekends throughout the summer for Marine Patrol. They're only paid for those weekends. During the week, unfortunately, only an emergency would I be sent out as the lone officer going out. Yes, I could recruit some of the road officers to go with me, but with the economic times, it's unfortunate that there's just the one person at this time.
And what type of fleet do you all have in terms of watercraft and things like that?
We have a total of 36 boats. When you get into those, though, you've got our hovercraft is included in that. Our major dive boat, when someone goes down, we bring out the major dive boat. We have 26 patrol boats,
okay,
if you will, to where those are out on the lake, and those are considered the quicker ones we can just drop into the water readily.
Absolutely, great. Well, we're going to take a real quick break here on Behind the Badge, and we'll be back with more information on marine safety with Sgt Pat Hatfield of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. So stay tuned.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. We are still joined by Sgt Pat Hatfield of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. And Sergeant, we left off talking a little bit about the marine safety, but one of the things I think is really important that you brought up is the importance of life jackets and the laws and the regulations surrounding those. So let's go over those, because that's absolutely critical for, I think, the boaters to have out there.
Correct. You must have a type 1, 2, or 3 life jacket, and it must fit the individual, size and weight. But the most important thing, yes, it is to have them on board, but children under 6, it is the law that they must be wearing that life jacket. Unfortunately, most children under 6 cannot swim, so if they even fall overboard without getting knocked unconscious, they will go under the water. So it is important for them to wear that.
In terms of some of the enforcement that your men and women have to take, what is probably the number one violation that you all see out on the water?
Improper registration and lack of safety devices, either be the fire extinguisher or short on life jackets.
Okay. And the vessels, they're required to be registered with the state, and registration, insurance, all that stuff on board, similar to what we would have for a motor vehicle?
Yes, they keep it in their glove box and keep it right on board with them.
Okay. And in terms of the drinking and operating the watercraft, how do you all go about assessing that? Obviously, the behavior of the driver or the operator of the vessel, but some of the other psychophysicals maybe that you'd have to look at for these individuals.
You're right. It's the same thing that we look for on the street. Once we pull up alongside the individual, we do give them the leeway of being on the water because you can't stand the boat is rocking and so forth. The officers will get up as close as they can for smell. They'll their demeanor on the boat. Most people on the boat, which I've seen over the last few years, is different from someone in a vehicle. People on the water seem to get very angry right away. That is one sign. And then, of course, we'll take them to shore to administer the rest of the tests.
Yeah.
We can give the breathalyzer test right out in the water.
Right. And I think it's important for people to understand, unlike most people who are operating motor vehicles at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and may be operating under the influence of whether it's alcohol or drugs, typically when people are on the water, there's at least 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 people on the vessel.
Yes, and that's the unfortunate part. And then once it gets dark out there, you don't have headlights like you do on a motor vehicle, and it is very dark out there. It's very hard to see, and if someone fails to turn on their running lights that they have, all of a sudden there's 2 vessels right there colliding.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly something we want to avoid, and we certainly appreciate the efforts that you all put into that and providing that coverage for the hundreds of lakes we have here in Oakland County. Let's talk a little bit about your canine and your current assignment with that, and some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that you and your partner get to experience there.
Well, I've been a canine handler since '97. This is my second dog. The current dog I have is a Dutch Shepherd. His name is Geo. He's 2 years old. Very, very social dog. The things that we do, again, he's a utility dog, multi-purpose, so at any given time we can be called to any community. The tracking, the narcotic searches, we're out of our canine unit. I'm available during the day shift, so it's very easy for me to go somewhere versus if we don't have anybody on. We do have 16 dogs on our team. The training is extensive. It's a 4 or 5 week school to begin with. But you must train these dogs every day. They're just like children. If they don't work with it, they forget about it.
Yeah. So I know some of our canines that we have in Novi, seems the tennis ball is real popular. What's Geo's reward for when he does good stuff?
It's a Kong ball on a string.
Okay.
Then it saves on our shoulders of throwing that ball 400 times a day. Yes, they are very ball driven and they enjoy it, and that's all they work for. They could really, it doesn't matter to them what they do as long as they get to play at the end.
Absolutely. And Geo comes home with you every day. He's a member of the Hatfield household.
He is, yes, and yes, he's very social. He gets along with the whole family.
What are some of the more recent tracks that you've had? And now with the Sheriff's Office picking up the city of Pontiac, I understand you guys are getting busier with some of the events taking place, but you could find yourself out in Lyon Township, maybe Oakland Township, Rochester Hills. What are some of the most recent ones that you've had the opportunity to work on?
We did have one, it was a couple weeks ago, last week, up in the city of Pontiac. An individual had walked away from her home into the woods during a thunderstorm and lightning storm. The brush was very thick. Nobody knew where she went. They just had an idea she was in the woods. So deployed the canine, and he went off the freshest scent and tracked for probably half to 3/4 of a mile deep. Then she was stuck in a swamp.
Okay.
So we were able to, at that point, you control the dog, obviously. You help the lady out. My backup was there. Brought her out safely. She didn't even require medical care. We were able to get there that quick.
That's outstanding, and just a testament to the value of these police work dogs and what they can do, and the additional resources that they provide the organization is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us here on Behind the Badge. We appreciate, on behalf of all the 55,000 residents of Novi, the men and women of the Novi Police and Fire Departments, we'd like to say thank you for not only providing the service, but being available, and look forward to working with you on other endeavors, and wish you the very best in the next 25-year career that you have with the Sheriff's Office. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you to the viewing audience for tuning in to Behind the Badge. And until next time, continue to watch Novi Television.